Hello and welcome. If you're catching me here on YouTube or you're catching it on Decoding Attachment Style, which is the podcast, it's great to have you here. Today we're answering the question of if your attachment style and the patterns changes depending on how your partner shows up for you. And I'm going to use an analogy to make it a lot simpler for you to understand. Now, first of all, each human being will feel anxious from time to time. It is a built-in part of our human behavior that keeps us safe. So let's just say you're walking down that dark alleyway. You are going to sense if there's danger long before you hear someone walking up to you or long before you smell something. There is a sense that there is danger. And then we get that feeling, should we run away from what might pose as a threat to us, or should we stay and fight, which is fight or flight response. We're not going to deal with the other two responses right now. This is just to help you understand how anxiety shows up in our lives to protect us. So we'll make a decision, should we run, should we stay? That is a built-in part of our mechanical makeup that keeps us safe as human beings. So each and every human being will feel anxious. An avoidant attached person will also feel anxious, and a secure attached person will also feel anxious. I will explain in a few minutes why we label them anxious attachment and avoidant attachment in a very simple way of how you can tell what your attachment style is without doing a quiz. Now, an anxious attached person might have had, we're going to use an experience of someone breaking into their home. And now as years go on, they continue to be on high alert, right? They're going to be the ones to constantly be on a listen out or a lookout of anything that seems dangerous. So what they're going to do is they're going to keep their doors locked, the windows closed, and they know exactly where everything is. They're hyper vigilant. Now they're going to do this in even very safe settings, because whatever happens in today's time and world triggers them to that past bad experience. It shows up the same way in relationships. They've gone through a breakup way into the past 10 years ago, but today they're still on hyper alert, hyper vigilant in a new relationship because they're afraid of that experience happening all over again. Now, someone with an avoidant attachment style, let's say they had a similar experience, someone broke into their home. Now they're in a new place at different time years after. They're still going to be super cautious. So they're going to go into any environment, including a safe environment, and they are going to bolt up the doors and make sure that the place is absolutely safe and secure. And if someone knocks on the door, they are going to be very wary. They're not really sure if they could trust that person. It's exactly how they show up in their romantic relationships. They don't trust easily, and they keep their barriers up. Now, a secure attached person is going to look at the past and say, okay, yes, this is an experience that happened, but I'm in a different location. Of course, yes, if it's a neighborhood that isn't safe, that's rumored to be unsafe for me, of course I'm going to take precautions. However, I'm going to look at the situation, I'm going to look at my surroundings, and I'll make a decision on what's best to protect me. I'm not getting into this with absolute fear. There's no need for me to assume that what has happened to me in the past will happen to me again. And that is exactly how they show up in their relationships. Yes, they've gone through breakups in the past, but they don't take it personally. And there's no need to embrace a new relationship with fear. Now, this is how we go through our lives. As an anxious attached, as an avoidant attached, the insecure attachment styles will constantly look at their past experiences, and they'll be triggered in the present relationship. A partner today can trigger how they feel way back then, but bring it back into today's relationship. Does that make sense? Whatever is going on in their relationship now can trigger an old feeling, an old memory. And instead of saying, hey, this is a new relationship. I don't have to worry about what happened in my past happening again. They say, no, I know this. This has happened to me too many times. I'm pretty sure that it's going to happen again. Now, this is how you know if you are a secure attached in your relationship, an anxious attached, or an avoidant attached in your relationship. If there is conflict in your relationship and you feel an overwhelming need to solve the problem, I want to reach out to this person and fix this misunderstanding. I need to explain myself. I'm going to be misunderstood. I should reach out and apologize, but I need to fix this. If that is the mindset, chances are that you have an anxious attachment style. If you are in a conflict and you start to feel really uncomfortable, I don't want to deal with this, I don't want to talk about it, I just want to run. And you either walk away from the conversation, you shut it down, or you just stonewall, you stay there and you blank out, chances are you have an avoidant attachment style. If you've just met that person and you really like them and you want things to work out and you're feeling overwhelmed, you don't want to deal with the conflict, but you fear that if you don't address it, you could lose that person. So you push through the fear of running away from it to have the conversation, but you still want to run away from it. Chances are you have a fearful avoidant attachment style. And those are the people who are smack in the middle of being a dismissive avoidant or an anxious attached person. And I'm going to use this pen to explain. If we are on the far, for those of you who are listening through the podcast, I would advise you to grab a pen so that you could better understand what I'm saying. I've got a pen in my hand, and on the far left of the pen would be the dismissive avoidant, and the far right of the pen would be an anxious attached person. And right in the middle, you'll have the fearful avoidant. Now, they're fearful avoidant who are leading more to dismissive, anxious attached who are leaning more to a fearful avoidant who is leading more anxious. These on the anxious side, what I find is that they are insecure, but not afraid of speaking up, of showing some bit of vulnerability, they're not afraid of letting others know that they're insecure. So these are the ones who are going to ask you about how many people you've been out with, who are you seeing, what did you wear when you went out with your friends to a party. And it can be very confusing because the questions they ask, you may think that they are really interested in you when what you're really seeing is their insecurity. Now, those on the closer to the dismissive, if you're fearful avoidant, then you really want to remain independent, and there is that fear of vulnerability that's even more heightened. However, you're going to be in this space of fearful avoidant majority of the time, where it's like, yes, you want that connection, but you also don't want to lose your independence. Now, why I said early in the relationship, if there is conflict, you may be more inclined to have that conversation because you want things to work out. It's also because you haven't grown tired of a partner who might have been making you feel criticized or judged. You're not overwhelmed with multiple conflicts. This is probably the first, second, or third. So you have the emotional capacity to work through conflicts. But what happens is, as the conflicts continue, if you lean more on a dismissive side of the fearful avoidant, you start to shut down. You start to move away emotionally from the relationship. You start to get exhausted with it. If you lean more to the anxious attached, those are generally the people who will want to pull away, but eventually will reach out with a hi or hello, and you don't always get an apology. But that's understanding a little bit about how your attachment style shows up in the relationship. Now, if you're a secure attached person, your emotions will not swing. Generally speaking, it won't swing depending on the mood of your partner. You're going to be able to appreciate that this person might just be having a hard day. I'm going to ask them if everything's okay, if they want to share. And if they don't, you don't take it personally. You're okay with it. You may not understand your avoidant or anxious attached partner's behaviors, or any passive aggressive, any of their behaviors might be confusing. If it is confusing, you are someone who's comfortable speaking up. You could say, hey, this is something I'm noticing that's going on. Would you like to talk about it? I'm not feeling comfortable. You're not afraid of speaking up. You're not someone who feels like you have to walk on eggshells or broken glass to get your needs met. You're very comfortable speaking up, regardless of how the other person is going to act or react. I know a lot of people will reach out and say, well, I can't speak up because then they get defensive. Then you're not yet securely attached, because if the focus is on them and how they will react, and that is what controls whether you speak up or not, you're in one of the insecure attachment styles. The insecure attachment styles, anxious or avoidant, are afraid of speaking up because generally they do not believe that they are going to be met with compassion and understanding. They're not going to be received well. So that is why they're like, I'm not sure exactly. I want to tell my partner what's bugging me, but I've got to be so careful with how I say it and what I say, because they might get upset and they may misinterpret or they may leave. A secure attached person, yes, they're going to be careful with how they communicate and what they really want to say, make sure that the message is received well. But if it is not received well by an anxious or an avoidant attached partner, they don't take it upon themselves and say, oh, well, I got it wrong. They're comfortable with saying, okay, I told you how I felt. And if we can't have an emotionally mature conversation, that's not all on me. I'm fine to open up the conversation again, but I'm not going to tippy-toe around you and your feelings and neglect my own. I hope this has been helpful. Let me know in the comment section. If you've got questions, send them out to me. You could put them in the comment section and I will hop on here and do another video or another podcast on this. Follow me across all social media platforms for more on attachment styles.